Okay, welcome everyone to today's session where we are really excited about the launch of our new integration on the Smarter SMSF platform with SuperMate. And I'm joined today by Andy Forbes, CTO at SuperMate. Andy, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. Good day, everyone.
So yeah, as I said, today we've been sort of working on this for, I guess, the best part of 6 months. I guess the discussion probably happened mid-ish last year, Andy. And the conversation has really accelerated from probably the back half of last year. And here we are today, now able to demo to you some of the initial work that we've done around this integration with SuperMate, as I've said. So a little bit about what we're going to cover today. We'll spend a bit of time, I guess, at the start. Andy can give a bit of an introduction. Some of you as SuperMate clients, some of you may not be SuperMate clients and are watching this for the first time or potentially as we record this for our website, a little bit about the SuperMate product itself. And most importantly, the API functionality, which really enables us as an organization at Smarter SMSF to able to plug into that and do a range of tasks to make life much easier for you as that SMSF practitioner. We'll then spend a bit of time having a look at demoing some of the documents that we have available to you. In particular, we'll focus on not only pulling data, but what we can potentially be posting back as well. We'll have a little bit of a roadmap conversation about the work that we are doing. As I said, this is kind of just the very beginning of the relationship here between Smarter SMSF and SuperMate. So we want to share with you some of the things that we'll be focusing on, both in a Smarter SMSF sense, but how that then translates into SuperMate as well. And then finally, we'll wrap up and take any other questions as well. So Andy, maybe to you first here, just to give I guess, an explanation of SuperMate, the journey, because I know the SuperMate software evolution has been quite profound in the last few years. So to give our audience here today a bit of an understanding of where SuperMate is as a software program today.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Aaron. So there may be someone here that don't know a lot about SuperMate. So just quickly, what is SuperMate? SuperMate is a web-based SMSF and investment portfolio accounting and compliance software designed for accountants so they can efficiently provide these services to their clients. We have had this long journey of updating our what we're calling SuperMate Classic and rebuilding and redesigning all of our processes to really bring it into the modern era and make it cutting edge. And I guess why do people choose SuperMate? People choose it because it has rocket fast administration. The design team that go through and design all of the features and functions in the new SuperMate can and actually do SMSF administration. So they understand all of the pains that you'd be finding in a daily basis, and they're well positioned to then change the program to make it less painful or more efficient. So as a result, our administration, our reconciliation is really, really smooth and fast. It also, and not only does it make it fast, it makes it very easy to learn. And it still has the full power of a proper GL system behind it as well. We have innovative features in it, like Data Hero for drag and drop document data extraction. It works really, really well for bank statements and things like that. We've got a bunch of data feeds, as you'd expect. And behind it all is a really powerful read and write API, which is enabling things like this sort of integration with Smarter SMSF. There are many, many more features, and we're growing fast and adding more value all the time. So it's something we're really, really excited about. What does it look like? I thought I'd just quickly show, this is our fund overview screen. It's just a quick screenshot. We're really proud of how it looks, but also how it works and how easy it is to learn. And we launched this just over a year ago, and it's a huge uplift from our SuperMate Classic product. Mm-hmm. If you are curious, what do our reports look like? Here's an example. We've got a member statement and a portfolio performance overview report. Now, I would love to talk much more about SuperMate. I'm very, very passionate about what we're doing, but this is Aaron's webinar, so I'll keep moving. But if you are interested, please look us up. I'd love to chat more about it. Now, just quickly on our two versions of SuperMate. we launched a year ago the new SuperMate, but we also have SuperMate Classic, our older desktop-based solution, which some of you might be on. Now, whether you're on the new SuperMate or the older SuperMate Classic, or a mix, because with the SuperMates, there's no migration needed between the two. What Aaron will demo works seamlessly across both. So it doesn't matter if you're on SuperMate Classic or the new SuperMate, what Aaron's going to show will work.
Yep.
Okay, so that's enough of
a bit about our integration work.
Yeah. So enough about the SuperMate. Let's talk document integration. So when we rebuilt and redesigned the new SuperMate, one of the things we did was massively extend our API. It's free to access and is both read and write. This means we can do advanced integration with key ecosystem partners like Smarter SMSF. And we're really happy about this integration, and we've got much more planned that leverages the full power of our API. Having an easy, frictionless way to order documents is a great thing for our mutual clients. One more thing, we're also happy about this integration because we have alignment on the importance of privacy and information security, something we take very seriously here at SuperMate, and so does Smarter SMSF. Yep. Okay, that's enough from me. Let's get into it and show some of the integration. Back to you, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. And I think, you made a really good point early on, and where you sort of said, I have a real passion for this. And I think, this sort of partnership is something where I can see the passion in the work that's wanting to come from not only you, but the rest of the SuperMate team to try and build out something that we can see is going to significantly enhance the SuperMate user experience. And, from my point of view, I think, we definitely have that same level of passion in our business in terms of how we want to derive solutions. And ultimately, that's what it will become. All the ideas that we get from our own platform in terms of documents, in terms of the way that things can be done, all come from our members and telling us about the ways in which they're dealing with certain situations, and the ability to have such an extensive API that I know SuperMate has is going to not only help in our job in terms of putting a lot of these documents together, but making that process as frictionless as it can possibly be when we are either getting that data or potentially posting that back. And I think that's the bit that really excites me the most, that when you can kind of get stuck into the technical stuff, but then you actually overlay the technology with it, it can be a real game changer in the way that the administration of funds is actually done.
Yeah, totally agree, Aaron. Everyone in this industry needs to make it easier for everybody else. And the better we can do that, the greater and greater the SMSF industry will become. Yeah,
absolutely. So a little bit, I guess, about us, for those of you that may not have known much about the Smarter SMSF business. We naturally are a document education and technical support business. We have 1,000+ users now across the platform, either through subscriptions or potentially ordering pay as you go. One of the things that we want to ensure people understand, so we are a document business. We're not a legal firm as such, but our business owners are practicing not only specialists in this area, but are also practicing solicitors as well. So when we go beyond the scope of what may be required on the platform, we can naturally fall back to the legal support that sits within the business as well. A couple of other really important things, I think, that set us apart from our competitors. We deep dive into SMSF. So we are specialists in our own right. So not only are we presenting on industry and shaping conversations that are occurring in the industry, therefore we see that journey from understanding the way in which issues come about. We think about this $3 million threshold at the moment. And Andy, I'm sure that's going to be a lot of fun and games for you as well, subject to how that ultimately lands. But ultimately here as well, we've been very particular in not only owning the platform, but owning all of the IP around the legal and pension compliance documentation that we do have as well. So you will, as we go through today, a lot of the information that we show you on the platform, it is available through our very cost competitive subscriptions, but equally you can order things on a pay as you go basis as well. So as I said before, there is a real strong focus on this automation to create SMSF documents. And again, this SuperMate integration here is all about helping manage risk, and helping to save you time and money. And again, as I touched on the previous slide, we do then have that legal support. So if we end up in situations where maybe through a deed upgrade or so forth, there are recognized deficiencies that need rectification, you've got that backup that you need to ensure that those things are done as well. From I guess, a system point of view, all of our work is done and hosted through Amazon. It is hosted here in Australia. We have SSL certificates, so we ensure that we are appropriately protected with payments through obviously credit cards and so forth. I'll touch a little bit on the user functionality a little bit later, which is through subscription and in particular our saved orders and reset functionalities. There is I guess, a fairly straightforward process to order. We accept all forms of payment, both in subscription or completion of documents. And then the process to, from, I guess, entry of that information with the integration with SuperMate through to completion is not only do you get that information emailed to you, but then you have the ability to download that completed order. And one of the things that we expect to have in the near future is then to be able to send that information back up into your SuperMate document management system or DMS. As we go along today, I'll show you a little bit about the tool tips and stuff, helping you to understand some of the questions that might happen along the way. And you have full access across our samples of the different libraries of information. We talk about and show videos how you can set up integrations, ordering documents, and so forth as well. And Andy, I might just get you to quickly touch on this, because I think this is really important. You did touch on it earlier around the security assessments that need to occur, just to, I guess, again, just give some comfort about the approach that we need to take as a provider into the SuperMate software.
Yeah, okay. So SuperMate is a ATO digital service provider. And as a result, the ATO mandates very, very strict, requirements for the way that we approach information security and privacy. And part of that process also has requirements for the people that we integrate with. And so whenever we are working with a potential integration partner, we need to make sure that their standards align with ours, so that our data, our mutual clients' data, is well protected. It's one of the reasons why we look to partner with firms that are more advanced in their security and computer management, or information management systems, such as Smarter SMSF.
Yep.
In this day and age, protecting data is critically important.
Yeah, we don't want to be the next one in the newspaper, like we've seen in recent times.
Yeah, that's right.
So again, just a couple of little things here. I guess who are the types of firms, most importantly, that we work with? And it is quite broad. So we have two fairly polar opposite types of clients, and then many in the middle as well. So we deal with general practitioners, from sole practitioners and 1 and 2 partner, 3 partner firms. And really the challenges that we see when we talk to those sort of practices that might not have that level of specialization is that certainty that they want about, am I actually doing this correctly? And as long as you've got the confidence in a partner that says, these people are on top of what we need to do in respect to the deeds, pensions, investment strategies, whatever the case may be, then that satisfies that type of person, because you're kind of starting to dial in the expertise inside your practice. And again, this is something that SuperMate does with their own compliance software as well, to ensure that you're doing the things right and you have the tools to be able to make the right decisions with your clients. At the other end of the spectrum, we do then ultimately have a number of specialist firms and administrators. And what we see there is much higher volumes in terms of the subscription and the number of orders. But there are 2 very clear things that those type of firms want. And the reason why they do come along is because they do recognize that the way in which we build our documents is industry best practice. So the detail, the fact that the way in which we construct documents not only complies with the law, but maybe opens up or addresses issues, strategies, and the case. And once they're satisfied with the fact that that document does what it needs to do, then what they want is an efficient and consistent experience each and every time, because when you may be running hundreds of funds, and even clients that we have that have thousands of funds, and you're producing multiple pensions, for example, each and every year, you just want to ensure that the process from an integration connection to SuperMate to be able to pull down that data, to be able to run that pension that'll then produce the templates, is done as efficiently and effectively as possible. So those sorts of things in the way in which we operate are really important. And we then, I guess, supplement that with the technical expertise that we have to be able to not only support people in there, but making sure that we keep up to date with the changes as well. And as we touched on before, we can either, it may be through subscription bundles, or it may be through PAYG, just subject to the level of activity that you might have with the available documents. And I guess this is a common diagram that we show in a number of our technical sessions, but also around our product suite. And this really comes back to the fact that when we look at our business, when we might compare to other providers in the marketplace, we focus on SMSF. So we don't come out and say to you, well, we will produce other non-SMSF based documents. And it's the depth of documents that we have and that we hang our hat on, as opposed to the breadth of documents. Because what you will see over time is different providers operating at different levels here. And in theory, many of those providers that focus on a broad offering of product really are in that level 1 or level 2 thinking. So they will produce documents as the law says they have to do. So it may be very prescriptive insofar that it allows for 6 members in an SMSF, or previously 4 members, but then you needed to update your deed to ensure that it allowed for 6 members. Whereas the way we construct our Smarter SMSF deed is such that it doesn't matter how the law moves in respect to the number of members, we are actually complying with the requirements of Section 17A. So that's just one example. We also have seen this quite clearly through the DBN process, and in particular the Hill and Zuda decision last year. Again, very prescriptive ways in which the law works from the context of SMSF with binding death benefit nominations. We didn't need to make any changes because we've ultimately been following what has happened in that context from a binding death benefit nomination and the various cases that we have seen going as far back as 2005. And it's that level 4 thinking here is where we really believe we set ourselves apart from many of our competitors in the marketplace, because it's very strategic, the way that we construct our deed, our DBNs, our pensions, our compliance documents, and so forth. But the extended thinking then is actually saying, well, what other documents become really important to ring fence some of these things as well? And I'll touch on today the investment strategy, for example. Quite clearly through the last few years, we've seen a heightened increase in the use of investment strategies and having something that, in essence, auditors feel comfortable and comply with. But we've done more than just produce that strategy. We've now built out things like asset concentration documents, minutes that deal with those, the various asset classes that might fall into. We've also built an investment strategy review document that can then link itself back to the initial document, so on and so forth. So again, just understanding why we do what we do. And then from there, how do we really tap into integrations like we have with SuperMate now, because it then helps reduce the risk, but then also, again, gives you that time back that you need inside your practice as well. So let's get stuck into just, I guess, getting started. So what the experience looks like from a Smarter SMSF point of view. And it really is fairly straightforward. So the first part for you is to actually say to yourself, am I going to, in essence, sign up and just start ordering documents, which may be done on a pay-as-you-go basis, or do I want to go through and work out whether a document package may be right? So that is really the first part for you to contemplate how you want to then access the Smarter SMSF platform and the documents that are available. We do have a standard PAYG sign up page. You'll be able to go there. If I just jump, I might just jump across to the website whilst I remember. And what you can do from there is simply go in and sign up to the PAYG page. So I'm just going to go to our site. And what you'll then see at the top of the site here is under login, you have either a PAYG sign up or you've got the platform access. So from there, you'd be able to simply organize yourself to be able to sign up, and then you'll get your login. We'll obviously find out from you the software that you're using, and then we'll be able to naturally customize for you the information that you need to adequately connect and get underway. I'll come back to some of the other information shortly around the document packages. But from that point of view, once you have made that decision and got access to the site, then through the login to the Smarter SMSF platform, you're then going to now find under the integrations tab, which we'll go to, and in essence, get you logged into the site. Now, one of the things before you get in, we should note that we do have multi-factor or two-factor authentication. So you will, for the very first time that you log into our site, have to set that up. Obviously, it becomes a mandated part of the requirements that SuperMate and other partners have here to ensure that, again, client information is adequately protected. From there, you'll then connect your SuperMate software from within the integration, and then based upon the documents that we have available through that integration, you can then get underway. What I should say as well is that just because we don't necessarily have an integration ready yet for all the documents, it doesn't limit you in being able to go in and order those documents ordinarily. The reality is you'll just need to populate that information yourself until we work through, I guess, the backlog of a significant number of documents. And we know, because we've spoken to a number of our members that are already SuperMate users, about what we see as the high functioning documents. So it's like Pareto's theory, what are the 20% of documents that get used 80% of the time? And so we're spending a lot of time getting those right in the first instance, and then we will start to go and I said again, backfill some of those other available documents here. So a couple of other things here, I guess, just in terms of what we're going to be doing. And maybe, Andy, I might just get you to give maybe a high level understanding of the difference between the API in getting and pushing data, just for our audience as well, because that an integration here is we're intending on this being two-way. So what does that mean to the user?
So many firms, when they build an API for their product to enable others to get data out, they build sort of a little thing off the side, and it's generally, limited data available. It's normally just pulling the data down, a little bit like running a database query to get some information down. What we've done with the new SuperMate is we've made it full-featured, to the point that you could actually write your own SMSF administration software using our API if you actually wanted to. I wouldn't encourage it; it's a lot of work. Yeah. But you could. It's got full read and write and extensive. Anything you can do in the user interface, you can do via our API. And what that does, what that enables, is greater innovation in the whole, SMSF ecosystem around SuperMate. And these kind of conversations around how we can work better with document providers, or other ecosystem partners like auditors, it means that they can write code within their system, which then pushes data into SuperMate. Instead of just reading, it can push data in. So say, for example, to the point of maybe starting an SMSF, for example, you could push the data straight in, so then you don't have to do a double entry. It also means good things if you're trying to integrate your practice's internal systems into SuperMate, so you can get really tight integration with all the people involved in the data that's in your accounting and compliance software.
Yep. Yeah, so from that point of view, you can see there one of the initial projects that we've been working on is the ability to move from a fund establishment. So getting that new SMSF set up, and with that process, once that order has been completed, given that we have through that order form the fund name, the code, the establishment date, the provider, the fund, the trustee, the member details, all addresses and so forth, let's get that information into SuperMate without having to rekey that information. So that is just one example. And I can see this happening with the ability to add members, potentially change trustees, and so forth. So the power of what the integration can do, the API, and this is the bit that I guess gets me really excited, is the extensiveness that you've put into that API actually gets my creative juices thinking fairly extensively as well. So because it allows us to do a whole range of things that I know practitioners out there have for a long time done them in an inefficient way because the technology wasn't there to do that. So one of the things that we've done on our side is we've now set up a specific landing page. And again, just to share with you the fact that if you want to go in and have a look at that under our documents and the integrations tab, and you'll be able to go in and then click on that SuperMate integration there. And we'll continue to add information about the integration and more, obviously the webinar today, but helping you to understand how to connect. And we'll be adding in a series of videos and stuff in here to get you underway, most importantly as well. So we do see this as an important step to helping you understand how these documents work, why you need them, but then how you can leverage the technology to do that as well. So let's get stuck into, I guess, a bit of a live demo and show you some of the work that we have done to date. So let's find the right screen I need. So what you've got is our Smarter SMSF platform here, and we have an integrations tab under here, but we also have in here the ability to create documents. So in the ability to create, as I touched on before, there are 80 plus documents that are now available within the Smarter SMSF platform that you can go over and search for at any point in time. So if I just type in here, investment strategy, you can see in here, we've got our investment strategy report, single asset concentration review statement, changes and the like. So regardless of integrations, these sort of documents are here for you. One of the other things you can see here is I have a subscription against my profile. So a document subscription simply uses a counter to tell you how many documents you have ordered and then how many you have remaining throughout that subscription period, which is an annual a subscription per annum that can be paid either annually or per month. Okay, so but what we do have is under documents here or under the integrations, it doesn't really matter which way you go about doing it. You can go and hit create with SuperMate. And what this will do is allow you to connect your SuperMate software with Smarter SMSF. So this will enable you to have to authorize and connect, which you can see here. And then once you authorize, it is now opening up access to the data that we have within the SuperMate software to be able to undertake a number of these different orders. Now, Andy, I don't know if you want to add any other magic science to that process, but it is, I guess it's a fairly straightforward process. Most importantly, we want it to be as seamless as possible. The security that really sits around it is obviously happening through the entry point into the software in the first place, because we've got multi-factor authentication. Is there anything else you want to add to that process?
There's a little bit more around just making that easier and more seamless with single sign-on. But we'll probably chat about that item a little bit further along.
Yep.
It uses your credentials, like the SuperMate user credentials, to go and get that data. So only be pulling down the data that you're able to see if you logged into SuperMate yourself. We're looking at ways to make that more single sign-on, so you can be in SuperMate and jump straight into here and not have to do this step.
Yep, cool. So again, what we have now is the ability to undertake, for example, a trust deed upgrade here. What you then be able to do now that you are connected is you'll be able to select the relevant site. From there, you'll be able to choose your particular fund, and you can see we've been testing on a whole heap of things here. But if I just choose our SMSF1 superannuation fund, what that is now allowing us to do is to import the information that we need within that particular order form to be able to document or to generate that particular order. So we have in here now our reference, we have our fund name, we have our establishing deed of that fund. If there were updates, those sort of things, we will be able to get that information as well. And we have our trustee here, individual trustees, the address of the fund, and then on the second page, the address of the members. So I touched on earlier a couple of things. So on our site, we do have different tool tips to help you understand what some of these questions are about. So a good one here with this deed upgrade is that we have cure-op status. So we have overseas pension transfers from the UK. Quite often we have a number of our members that are specialists in this area, so that when they do need to undertake a deed, it may need to continue to comply for cure-ops, and it has things like age 55 and over for members. So it's simply because this information naturally isn't in SuperMate, what we're doing is we're just choosing a yes or a no. Again, we may be able to pull information about states or whatever, whether we've had deed previous amendments or not. If there is, you can choose the number of those that have occurred. We always reference in here for you, if it is the Smarter SMSF deed that you are upgrading from, up to a more current version of the Smarter SMSF deed, we'll put in those sort of references for you. Some of the more current forms, we're actually asking that and then pre-populating that information. We see all kinds of ways in which those are referenced in pre-existing deeds, clauses, rules, chapters, and so forth. We now have our meeting addresses and so forth there. One of the things we do have on our site is when you fill out order forms, we do use an address system that will, in essence, enable you to populate that address through the addressify function. And then from there, we are looking at the members' information, ultimately then reviewing and submitting. So you can see here, it's now picked up already. The fund has two particular members, Mark and Faith. We've got the addresses here again, automatically populated. And then simply it allows you to review that entry that has now been generated. And we have a range of information in here, and then it will allow you to place that order. So the key difference to note here, I have a zero price attached here because I have a subscription applied against my profile. What that means is when I submit this order, it will be reducing my counter of available documents that I have within my subscription. Okay, so I then will place that order, and then it will reduce the counter by one particular document. If I was paying as I go, then the credit card will apply here, and you'll be required to make that payment at that point in time and then place the order. Upon submission, you will get 3 emails ultimately in the end. The first one is a confirmation that the order has been submitted and a reference number if you need to come back to us and lodge a ticket around that particular order. The second one you'll get is the confirmation of that review page that you saw just before I submitted that order. And the third one is once it has been completed, you will then get the email with the link to download it, which again, that document is hosted on our Amazon S3 storage. So what I've done here is you can see that that is currently processing. Of course, here's one I've prepared earlier, and it will allow you to then simply download that document. Okay, so it's I wouldn't say it's instantaneous, but within a very short space of time, you're going to get access to that completed order. And then you'll be able to go through, obviously produce that for the client, whether you're printing it, you may use some form of electronic signing. Something like a deed will allow you to do that under the current laws. You just need to be careful, I guess, in terms of what you can and can't sign in an electronic form at this point in time. But broadly speaking, we've delivered to you in a fairly quick period of time, quicker than you would have otherwise done it, because of the integration that we have in place. So all of your documents do get stored here. So if you do things like companies, you do have the ability to download documents, you'll get your certificates and that sort of thing. If you're ordering a brand new SMSF, we are virtually in the final stages of testing our new ABN integration as well. So the data from your initial order form will then flow on into the ABN registration form, again, lodging that through the ABR to enable you to then submit that ABN order itself. So there are a number of things that you can see. So if I just go here under actions, and you've got your apply for ABN TFN there. So there's a number of things that you can do throughout that process. The other thing I want to touch on is at any point in time, if you have completed that integration of the order, what you can do is save that order at any point in time. So it may be done by an admin staff member. It needs to be reviewed by a manager. You will be able to store that order and go back to it. Now, subject to your subscription or not, you may be able to assign that up to a manager or have the manager have access to that. If you are a POYG user, you'll need to be using that same login to be able to do it. But you might be missing some information or whatever the case may be. You can then simply resume based upon the data that we have there. And one of the features that we've done with our new pension document is you can start that pension with an unknown balance, and it will actually save that order in here and enable you to go back and finish it off once you've done the financial statements in SuperMate to say 30 June 2022, so that then you can confirm the commencing values of that income stream as well. And again, you can use the integration here to pull down that data that you need to do along the way as well. So again, you've got a number of ways that you can get back to that particular integration. And again, you can go in and complete that particular document, whether it's investment strategy or so forth. So fairly standard, straightforward process, picking the fund and then enabling that import to occur as well. So again, we have built in some specialization into our investment strategy, whether it's a new strategy, whether it's a pre-existing fund. Again, we can see the population of all that information. We're asking things in here. If it's an existing fund, have they previously received any letters from the ATO around diversification? Is there heavy asset concentration? And if there is, what sort of asset might it be? Because we're producing additional paperwork to go with the investment strategy to satisfy those extra requirements that the auditor is imposing on the fund to show why it would be appropriate in those circumstances as to the fund holding real property or not. And again, we give some guidance through these different areas as to why these things would be important. So I won't worry about going through in a great lot of detail there. We do have, and I might just go back to the completed investment strategy before, but one of the other things that we are expecting to have available very shortly will be that ability then to push that new SMSF order form, completed order, back into the SuperMate software for you. So if I just go back, it's just taking its time at the moment. Always the joys of live demoing, Andy.
Yeah, I know it well.
So we can see here, I might just quickly show people the investment strategy report here. But in essence, it's allowing you to, we in the investment strategy, we've been very deliberate at this point in time in only producing the template, the skeleton of that template, so that you're not going beyond providing financial advice, which we know for many of the accountants in this space at the moment, the fact that limited licensing hasn't worked for us, where we do have many people that are stuck in that regard. So we do have in here, you can see this additional minute in respect to the review of the strategy, the holding of property as a single asset class, the resolutions that it occurs, and then we actually get into that investment strategy document itself. And we go through all of those relevant areas. We have tips and monitoring processes and stuff built into it. And then we can then look at having that naturally completed through either ticking relevant boxes or they can choose their own sort of detail that sits within that as well. And we did a lot of work originally when the ATO published information about investment strategies that led us to then developing something that looked a lot more comprehensive, that you can see sort of on the screen here now. So the other thing, as I was saying, is under the integrations is the fact that you'll be able to push that information back into SuperMate. So the idea here would be you'll be able to do that establishment, and you'll be able to do this from your completed orders page. And I'll show you a bit of a screenshot of how this will land shortly. But ultimately, what you're going to be able to do in a similar vein is you'll be able to choose your site. And then from choosing the site, you'll be able to choose that particular fund that you have completed on the site. So the list here are all of the SMSFs, new SMSFs that I have completed via the Smarter SMSF platform. And from there, once I have chosen that particular fund, it will then allow me to post that information back into SuperMate. And as I said before, fund information, trustee information, member information will all be set up for you to enable you to get underway inside SuperMate as well. So they're probably the main things I wanted to really spend time on to show you how that integration works. Where there's obviously a lot more documents that we're going to be adding, which I'll touch on in a second, but that just gives you some context as to how this works and the benefits that you can naturally get from this process as well. So I'm going to head back to our slides now, Andy, and I'll get you to just give us a bit of a update around the, from your point of view, where we see some of this integration work going with Smarter SMSF from SuperMate's point of view, and then I'll do the same myself.
Yeah, awesome. That looks great. So through all of that, we're showing what is essentially the first step, the Smarter SMSF system pulling down data from your SuperMate instance so that you can order documents you need with ease. Now, we talked about our extensive read and write API and more advanced integration. So that's going to enable things to grow from here. I guess the next steps that we've been talking through are, obviously more document types. We don't want anyone manually typing data. Everyone's got better things to be doing in their lives than typing data into several places. So part of that is more document types. The other point is you saw Aaron logging into the SuperMate test site for Smarter SMSF. We want to, in the new SuperMate, have a section where you go to document providers, click Smarter SMSF, and it will single sign you on into Aaron's system automatically for you, and you'll see your clients, and it just takes a little bit of friction off that process so you can focus on delivering value. The other thing is, SuperMate has a full DMS or document management system inside of it. So pushing documents that you generate in the Smarter SMSF system into SuperMate. So again, you don't need to download and then go to SuperMate and upload. We want that to happen automatically if that's something that you choose. And then taking it even further is the idea of pushing data back into SuperMate. And I think that's the one that will start to really, move the game a little bit, where you create a fund or you do an activity that requires a data change in SuperMate, whether it's starting a new fund or just making an adjustment to a fund based on the document or the process you've gone through in Smarter SMSF. And that's the bit that I'm really, really excited about because it just makes our mutual clients more efficient. The goal of all of these items is to make it easier for our clients. As I said earlier, the better the entire SMSF industry does this, the better it'll be for all of us. So it's something I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, so Andy, I was just going to say there that because one of the things that we're seeing a lot of work going on at the moment is with a lot of older clients, and the fact that we're seeing changes in the trustee structure. An older client now maybe appointing a child or whatever in. So I see huge opportunities for that. Not only the production of the document that'll do that deed of appointment and retirement of different parties, but the fact then that we then want to instigate that change within SuperMate so that that director is then removed and that new person is appointed. And again, the API is there to enable us to start to do those things, and ensuring that people know all the steps that need to happen. So it's one, it's knowledge, but then it's two, how do we leverage the technology to try and make this as frictionless as possible?
Yeah, totally agree.
Right.
So that was all I was going to talk about on this slide, Aaron. So maybe do you want to talk specifically through any of these items?
Yeah, so I guess the big thing from our point of view is when you audit any document, you can see here, and I was just on this page before, but what you'll be able to do from a document management point of view is our actions tab is where everything happens, I guess. Once you've produced any sort of document, if it's a company, you'll be able to get not only your documents, but your ASIC incorporation certificate. If you are ordering any of these other sort of documents, investment strategy or a deed or whatever the case may be, you will then have the option that if you want to post that document back into the SuperMate DMS, we will have that in there for you. So you can see there, it'll just say docs to SuperMate. You'll click that button and then it will prompt you in essence where that is to go. And then it'll enable you to push that information back into that document management system. Again, just removing an existing process that you might be doing, or you may not even be utilizing it. And therefore you see it as an important step that you could now look to introduce. And again, the same sort of concept here where we're posting that new SMSF, as I was touching on before. You may be able to do it into the integration area where I was showing you. Our goal ultimately, again, will also be that you can do it from here. So the integration that I showed you before to be able to push back, you may have set up funds previously through us, but you might not have yet set them up in SuperMate for some reason. That will allow you to go back and choose those funds and then push it up. Ultimately, what I think will happen is you'll finish that particular order. You'll go to the Actions tab. You'll be able to download your documents. You'll be able to apply for your ABN here as well and TFN, and you'll then be able to send that information to SuperMate, again, looping through and closing off that entire process that you need to get your fund established. And I think on that point, we have a number of areas that we are working on within our Smarter SMSF platform at the moment. A lot of them in the document sense is really heading towards, in this next quarter, getting as many of these documents up and running as we can from an integration point of view. I did touch on already a couple of times our TFN ABN. We are literally in the final throes of testing at the moment with a number of members. We are also, as Andy said, introducing at some point in the future the SSO login process to again enable you to get across. We've got projects around a deed manager service that will include updates, and we're about to sort of kick off a Macquarie CMA integration as well. So there's no shortage of I guess, work that's being done. And Andy, I'm sure your sort of product project timelines look probably a lot busier than they do too. And I guess that's just sort of scratching the surface there. The one thing I will touch on, first from a document point of view, these just give you a little bit of an indication as to what we're going to be adding over the course of the next quarter. So I had in here Q2, these additional documents. These are some of the ones that we feel fit into that narrative of the ones that we see get used more than others. So if you do have any suggestions on documents that may be more higher volume, please, you can get in contact with us, team@smartersmsf.com. Like I said, we've got our initial 6 that we're working on and getting in, but here's just a list of some that we're looking to add on over the course of the next quarter as well. And as I said at the very beginning, just because we haven't got the integration yet, it doesn't mean that you can't use it, whether it's PAYG or under a subscription as well. On that note, I guess if you are looking at a subscription, there is a process for you to go through. One of the key benefits, though, in the subscription, putting aside the price for a second, is that there is the ability to have access to documents firm-wide as opposed to per user. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that you have the ability to manage the team that has access to your subscription. That allows you to, as we showed you before, have people submit just under that subscription ordinarily. So the subscription is to the firm, not to the individual. You can then, through the user console, have staff added into that console and have them removed from that console. You can then have what we call the parent or the manager then having access to the saved order from a workflow point of view, or even be able to view the completed order, where under a POIG, again, it's just entirely linked to that particular user. And we have some other benefits, I guess, about the support that is needed around it as well. So I might just quickly jump in there and show you, because this is, again, an area that we've been doing a lot of work on. So you'll be able to here look at the staff members that you want to have access and what level of access you want them to have. And then once you've set that up, that what we call the parent here will be able to have access to the entire team's completed orders or saved orders, as you can see here as well. So if I just open up David here, you can see we've then got access to those orders that have been done. So if I need to find something, or if I only want David to be able to produce the ABN registration here up to the point before it's submitted, I can then click on this link and then enable me to go on and be satisfied that it's then completed. So again, there's a fair bit of work that we're doing in here, but this is unique and specific to the subscriptions that we're finding more firms that have multiple team members in it wanted to have greater visibility as to what's happening within the business and the users and what documents they're doing, and therefore the workflows that happen as well. So we're also breaking down this information based upon the type of orders that you're doing. But again, we'll come back and show you some of that once we're a little bit further on the development cycle with it. But that was something that, I guess, from a point of view where you might have multiple team members looking to utilize it, you do have access to that type of functionality as well through our user console as well. A little bit about our subscription packages. We have tiered packages that enable you to kind of dial up based upon the amount of documents you might need. So from this point of view, we started a Create 25 pack, which is in essence 25 documents over a 12-month period. So it's $150 a month, or otherwise you can pay an annual price, and then it tiers its way up to a top tier package, which in essence we now call a Create Plus, where you get in essence a customized solution for you as well. So I guess, Andy, that's pretty much it from me. I guess some key takeaways from my point of view, and thank you, I guess, for being a part of today's session. It's been great, I think, first and foremost, to get this integration underway. And I think it's been great to be able to work with the SuperMate team and getting this underway. And as you and I have both rightly said, it's literally the first part of the journey. So a special thank you to you and your entire team for making this happen.
No worries. Thanks for having me along, and also thanks for working with us. And it's something that I'm really excited about. It looks great. I like the additional parent-child user structure there. I hadn't actually seen that before, so that's really good. I think the larger firms would really like that.
Yeah, and a lot of that has come back in the last 6 months from those sort of firms where each individual that logs into SuperMate obviously needs their own unique emails and so forth. So we needed to rewire the subscriptions to enable that sort of stuff to occur. So most importantly, I guess we take a lot of interest in our clientele and the things that help them, and we try and be nimble to enable us to not only do the documents and stuff, but leverage the ways in which they can do their work better as well. So I think from today, we are up and away, I guess, most importantly, which is great. Sometimes if you wait to be perfect, it'll never happen in any sense. So this is the start of the journey. And as I said, we're really excited to be getting this underway. It is the very beginning. Expect to see us adding documents regularly onto the site. We do run a quarterly SMSF, Smarter SMSF update about what we do. So in each of those, every quarter, we'll be talking about the advancements that we're making within the SuperMate integration. So you'll be able to go back and look at that. We share it through newsletters and other things. And no doubt, Andy, we'll be having more of these in the future as we kind of evolve on this journey as well. So, and that journey, as Andy said before, will look to include even more sophisticated infrastructure around things like single sign-on as well. Yeah, so thank you again for joining us today, and for you, Andy, once more.
No worries. Thank you, and thanks to everyone.
Excellent. And as I always say, there is a smarter way, and I'm actually wearing that t-shirt as well, so I've done well. I've actually matched that out perfectly. So if we do have any questions, more than happy to take those on board. But yeah, as I said, if you'd like to get any further information about the integration itself, you can get in contact with us. We'd be more than happy to show you a bit of a demo. But other than that, yeah, thank you once again for being a part of today's session. And yeah, really excited about what we've got ahead. Cheers.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, everyone.